Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and Oregon Live, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Kira Profena. Together we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today we're once again talking about traveling to Oregon State Parks this year.
That's right. Last week we spoke with Interim State Parks Director Stephanie Coons all about the new rules and changes in store for state parks in 2026. And this week we wanted to talk about how to navigate those changes as you plan your travels for the year ahead.
Exactly. So as we learned, there's a lot of financial changes to kind of recap what that conversation was about, kind of the budget shortfall and how you're going to be seeing some increased fees as things shift a little bit this year. Priorities are changing some, sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, in short, state parks needs more money. They don't get funding from the government like a lot of state agencies, and so they're looking at doing whatever they can to save a little bit of money, and that has included increasing fees. And as Stephanie said in our conversation, that's not a sustainable way to fund the parks, right? They need a bigger source of funding than that they're working on. But it is sort of like an easy thing to do because Oregon State Parks has been pretty affordable compared to a lot of other state park systems. I mean, we've been paying $5 for parking and I don't know, something like $30 for a campsite. That's pretty good.
Yeah, comparable to how you were talking about other state parks are maybe the Washington State Park System or the California State Park System, maybe priced a little differently. So we're pretty lucky in what we have now. So we'll see like a slight increase, but what else? We're here to kind of talk about what else is going to affect people this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's all kinds of things when it comes to, I think campground reservations. That's changing. We talked about a little bit with Stephanie about the Division 15 rulemaking process, and wow, that's wonky. But essentially, it is a bunch of rules that they have changed about how they can establish fees, how much they can charge people, sort of like their flexibility when it comes to charging fees and collecting them, I suppose. And in that, there was this change in campground cancellation policies.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're going to be a little bit more on top of that.
Yeah, well, as it stands, what's been happening? So I think the background behind this is that you have this sort of like this big window of time where you can reserve an Oregon State Park site. Like I want to say it's 6-month window, and people are going on there like in January, booking their sites for the summer, and they'll just book a bunch of them just to snatch a bump because it's so competitive. They'll book a bunch of places, not really knowing where they're going to go, and then when we get to the summertime, they'll go, oh, you know what? Let's just go to this one and let's cancel the rest. And so there's a lot of last minute cancellations because there hasn't been like a strong incentive to cancel earlier.
Yeah.
You can really, I can't remember exactly how far it is, but you can, if you cancel a certain amount of time in advance, you lose your processing fee, but otherwise you get fully refunded for the campsite. And so what's been happening is that people will show up at these parks and they'll see a bunch of empty campsites and they'll say, hey, wait a second, like this was supposed to be so competitive. We tried so hard to get these spots. Now there's just a bunch of empty campsites. Like what's going on? And that's an issue that the State Parks Department is trying to fix. They said that roughly 30% of state park reservations end up being canceled.
That's kind of wild. That's 30%. A lot.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that seems like a really positive change then. That's going to benefit a lot of people.
Yeah, ideally. So what they're doing now is they're sort of saying that you will be charged more for cancellations depending on how soon it is until your reservation. So if you cancel 3 months out, maybe not an issue. If you cancel the same week or a couple weeks ahead of your reservation, then you're going to be charged some of that back. You're not going to make you're not going to get a full refund.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sounds like absolutely no refund on the day of as well.
Yeah, and no refunds for no shows. They haven't said exactly what the tier is, like how that works yet.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, still in the works, but it sounds like this is definitely going to be a change people can expect this year.
Gotcha.
So it's like, the question then is like, if you know that's coming, how does that change your calculus when you're booking a campsite, right?
Yeah, you gotta think about it a little bit more, be a little bit more strategic about your plans. Booking ahead. I mean, it's like you plan. It's like plan ahead, know where you're going. I guess this idea that people are booking a bunch of places
just in case they might want to go, maybe just like don't do that. I don't know. Part of this is like be a good citizen, you know? Don't cancel last minute. Don't book places you don't intend on going to just because. Like, I think there's this way we're treating campground reservations as like, I don't know, so something that sort of consumerist about it, like it's mine. I want to get my reservation. But it's just a place where you can spend some time, right? It's not something you get to own. So, you know, consider that, you know, other people should have the right to be able to reserve that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you're much more well-versed in this topic of booking your campgrounds. Is this something that is, like, really difficult to do for people? I mean, like, coming from... I actually have never camped in an Oregon park, so how difficult is it to get those reservations, like, for people that aren't really...
I mean, it varies on when you're trying to go and, like, what you're trying to do. So if for example, I mean, we could really do this right now. So if we wanted to go to Fort Stevens State Park... right, and we wanted to go in the summertime. So let's say, like, I don't know, what's like June 20th, Saturday, June 20th. We wanted to stay the weekend. Let's just see what it says. There are 3 sites available out of 521.
Wow.
And 2 of those are picnic shelters. So it looks like there's exactly 1 campsite available for that weekend. It is January.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you're looking at.
So it is... You really do have to be looking at this months and months ahead. And
exactly.
Is it the whole year's open?
It's 6 months at a time. So like right now, if we can book through August 26th right now. I'm sitting at recording January 26th. So we can book up until that point. So the idea is if I wanted to book something for, you know, September 5th, when that weekend is coming up 6 months in advance, I'm getting online like first thing in the morning. And I want to try to beat out everyone if I want to book, for example, like one of the deluxe cabins at Fort Stevens.
Gotcha.
Which are going to be the most competitive.
So you got to be on this.
You have to be on top of stuff. And that sort of competitiveness is what's led people to just booking a bunch of stuff and sort of using these tactics. But, you know, I think maybe if folks just relax a little bit, I don't know if that's too much to ask, then, you know, maybe this won't be as big an issue because we should not be at a place where 30% of campground reservations are canceled last minute. We should not, that should be a solvable problem.
Yeah. Yeah. For us non-frequent campers can be definitely an obstacle to getting out there and experiencing it. So, and another thing to kind of consider are last minute reservations. So do you think that's going to be more of an opportunity?
Well, that's something they added a couple of years ago. The opportunity to book last minute. It used to be like within 24 hours you couldn't book online. You could show up and hope for the best, but now they have added the opportunity to be able to say like, hey, it's Friday, it's a beautiful day. What if I could snag a campsite on the coast tonight? And you can go online and you can look. And sometimes when you have these last minute cancellations, you can snatch something up. Every now and then you can get lucky and find something. So that's another option too. I mean, don't cancel last minute unless you absolutely have to. But, you know, you can be able to maybe find some of these things. So that's a way to sort of, you know, if you can, instead of thinking like, I want to get this thing 6 months in advance, I have to get it, maybe open up some space in your planning to have some of these more spontaneous trips. You could even just say like, let me just poke around at a few parks. Where are we going to go this weekend? I don't even know. Let's go to a place where there's a last minute reservation. Isn't that kind of a fun way to think about traveling?
That does sound fun. That seems like a good alternative to booking everything out.
That's a fun game. You know, I haven't actually thought about that until I said it right now, but that's a pretty fun game to play. Like,
you should try that.
Where can I get a reservation tonight? And then I can get to explore a park that I wasn't even thinking about. You're going to end up, you know, somewhere out in Central Oregon, or you're going to end up, you know, Valley of the Rogue or something.
Could be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the other part of what we were talking about, you know, are these fee increases, right? Cabins, yurts, campsites, RV sites are all getting more expensive. And they have the part of their flexibility in that Division 15 is they've given themselves a flexibility to make them even more expensive in the future.
Right.
And those like high numbers, there's kind of some sticker shock about the idea of paying so much. But the idea is that they just want to, you know, should they need to sometime in the future, they can charge, you know, upwards of $129 for a cabin or a yurt, which is still like, not great. It's way cheaper than a hotel room. But right now, the top ranges have been $79 a night.
Right.
So that's a big difference. But I mean, again, when you're comparing that to like staying in a hotel, it's still a pretty good deal.
And that's mostly just for the more like popular dates that people are looking at. So it's more like dynamic pricing based off of when it's more common to have these booked out.
That's part of the newness that they're doing as well. Because it used to be just flat rate every day of the year. But they want to give the opportunity to make things a little bit cheaper or a little more expensive depending on time of year. And that way you can encourage folks to go to, say, the coast in the wintertime. Like, I mean, if you want to get a yurt at Beverly Beach for June, no dice. Absolutely not. But if you want to get one for this weekend on in the wintertime, you could probably find one.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's demand, meeting the demand. So
Exactly. And so that way it allows them to sort of get more people in the off season, ideally, and allows them to sort of make a little bit more money in the busy season.
Gotcha. And so, kind of looking at those cabins and yurts, do you have any recommendations for when, like, what's the best? Where should you be going? Where can people check out your favorite cabins and yurts?
I mean, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Basically, have you stayed in one of these?
No.
Oh man. Okay. What do you imagine when you think of a state park yurt? What comes to your mind?
Oh gosh, just like a structure, and that's it. Just nothing really. Not a lot. Sorry, my mind is blanking on that question.
Just a structure.
Just like a very basic bare bones structure, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not so far off.
Yeah.
I mean, you have, whether it's a cabin or a yurt, you have a structure. And inside you have what you often will get in a yurt is like a bunk bed situation. And they have it set up so like the bottom one sleeps 2 people, the top one sleeps 1 person. And then there's like a futon that sort of folds down and sleeps 2 more. So it's a great option for families because you can fit, 5 people in there. And like the mats are just like kind of basic. They're not uncomfortable, but it's just like sort of like a basic mat, right?
Yeah.
A few inches thick, simple. You bring your own bedding. There's like a little electric heater inside, maybe a little table and chairs. And it's in the park. Sometimes they're like right next to the ocean. Sometimes they're like, off in the woods.
It's not bad.
You can get on a hiking trail. You can enjoy it. It's camping, but it's indoors.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That sounds like a good intro for someone who's not a huge camper.
Exactly. They don't have their own. Well, that's the difference, right? They have there's rustic and there's deluxe when it comes to yurts and cabins. The ones we just explained are rustic, right? The deluxe cabins and yurts will have a private bathroom, usually sort of a little bit more furniture, maybe like a mini fridge. Oh my gosh.
Imagine that, camping.
Camping with a mini fridge and a private bathroom. That's when it's like, okay, luxury.
You're glamping.
You're glamping at this point. Yeah. So, I mean, those are a little bit more expensive. They're a little bit fancier. So you don't, but you still like, the idea is you bring your own bedding. You're just having your own little experience there.
Nice.
I like it. I love doing the yurts and cabins. I stay in there a lot, especially, in the winter. If I'm going to the coast in the winter.
Yeah, I don't want to be out in the forest floor.
Some people do it. If you got your tarp set up, you get a good tarp game. You can set up a system where you can stay dry out there in a tent. I've done it with moderate success in the past, but I hate waking up with water in my tent.
Yeah, that doesn't seem super fun.
No.
So it's nice to know that there are options.
Exactly. So even though those prices are increasing, it's still such a good deal.
Yeah. You're still getting a lot for what you're paying, it seems. You're still getting a pretty good experience, and you're not getting a wet tent.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And as we talked to Stephanie about last week, like state park camping experience is pretty comfortable. The bathrooms are nice. There are showers. The showers are free. Some of these places, like when I was at Cottonwood Canyon last year, those showers are brand new. The whole system is brand new. And so sometimes you get these really fancy campground bathrooms. I think people, when they think about like a shared bathroom at a campground, their mind goes to dark places. And that's not been my experience at Oregon State Parks.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like a pretty enjoyable and clean experience. So another thing that we talked a lot about was the parking going up too.
Yeah. So parking is increasing from $5 to $10. That's already happened. And they've also, there were previously only, I want to say there were just 25 parks that charged a parking fee out of the 251.
Yeah.
And they have added 22 more spots where they're now charging parking fees that were previously free. And that's primarily spots on the coast. A lot of it is places on the coast. Spots like Beverly Beach, Bullards Beach, Harris Beach and Oswald West, South Beach, really, really popular coast parks are now charging parking when they didn't before. And to me, that makes some amount of sense because, you have these are some of the most popular places to go. Yeah, I guess it makes sense to pay for parking.
Right.
There, right? So that's kind of the situation. And they could change. Part of it, again, the Division 15 giving them flexibility means they could change that. They could add parking to parks that don't have them. They could sort of make it seasonal. They could do all kinds of different changes. But this is the situation right now. So, if that feels prohibitive to you, paying $10 a car to park or getting an annual pass, which you can do, I think, the way to sort of navigate that is to go to other places, right?
Yeah. Go to the parks that don't charge for parking.
There are a lot of them.
That's good to know. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was only such a small chunk that we're charging. Yeah,
and that's, I think, one of the reasons they're this is sort of, I think, for the state parks, an easy way to make a little bit more money, to say we've been having almost all of our parks for free. We've been charging low parking fees. And part of that is let's keep parks accessible for the people. But now when they're really, really strapped for cash, it's okay, well, maybe let's make it, maybe let's, make it a little bit more. So I think, if it's not, the cost isn't a burden, you just kind of go as normal and you're paying a little bit more. $10 a park is way less than the gas you're going to pay to get there. If you're already spending $50 on a tank of gas to get out somewhere, $10 maybe isn't that much. But I think, if you're really thinking about oh gosh, and that $10 is a lot more, is it worth it to go? There are places you can go to really make the most of that $10.
Do you have any recommendations for those free parks?
Definitely. Silver Falls comes to mind, right? Because there's so much to do there.
Yeah.
There's the Trail of 10 Falls, which you can hike all day on. There's the Backcountry, which you could hike many days on. There's some just really cool places to picnic. There's some cool streams. There's a good visitor center. There's a restaurant. There's a couple of restaurants in Silver. You can really do a lot in Silver Falls. $10 makes it. That's a pretty low cost of admission to get into this incredible waterfall wonderland. You know what I mean? Smith Rock is another spot where you can explore. There's so many trails. If you're a rock climber, you can do rock climbing. There's just so much to do and see there that it's not $10 is not going to feel like a lot to go there.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to some of these places where you're just pulling off the highway and you're taking a picture of the ocean, okay, yeah, $10 might be a little bit for that. I get that. But if you're going to spend all day at Rooster Rock on the beach, okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, that seems pretty reasonable.
Well, that's good. So maybe it's an incentive to spend a little bit more time at the parks as well.
Exactly.
Explore them a little bit more.
Yeah, there's so many places I've been where I'll go back the third or fourth time and be I never took this trail before. Oh, I never went down to this part of the river. Oh, I didn't know this was here. And, it's easy to get stuck in our routine of going to places, but this is always a great opportunity to be let me spend more time here. Let me explore a little bit differently. I love an excuse to have new experiences.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
familiar places, especially.
That is such a good flip side to the changes happening.
I think, another solution to the cost being prohibitive is to just, like we said, travel to some of these lesser visited places where that don't charge. There's a couple hundred of them, right?
Yeah, seems like there's quite a few that people can get to for free.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. We put this list every year of the least visited state parks, and these are some flat spots that you've not heard of, right? Battle Mountain, Catherine Creek, the one in Oregon, not the one in Washington. Places that are just super, super far flung where you're going to find maybe nobody there, that don't have necessarily the full campground experience. They don't have the waterfalls. They don't have the ocean beach. but that are still very, very lovely in their own right. And it's always fun, I think, to like plan a little road trip to go see some of these like little visited state parks.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the person who's mad about paying more money, then like, okay, instead of being mad about it, just go have a new experience where you don't have to pay that money,
Seems like there's a lot of hidden gems out there too.
There's so many. Red Bridge is another good one that I really liked. I mean, I love stopping by these little spots and just seeing, again, having these new experiences is, I think, just such a valuable part of living in a place where there's so many places to go and so much to see. We've been doing this podcast weekly for 6 years now, and always having new things to see and do. Don't just go to the same spot every year.
Yeah.
I get that there's tradition and tradition's nice, but sometimes you got to shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing this job for 13 years, and you still haven't seen every part of Oregon.
My God, no. I've not been to the Pillars of Rome yet.
You're missing so many things.
I've thought about it, honestly. I didn't get to Opal Creek before it burned. I'm still, like I said, trying to get to Pillars of Rome, which is in far southeast Oregon.
Are there any, state parks that you are wanting to visit this year in particular, or you're making any plans for?
I don't think I've made specific plans. There's several state parks I have not been to yet that are in that sort of least visited category. There's one that's near Crater Lake that I've driven past 3 times and I've never stopped. I want to say it's Jackson F. Kimball State Park, and I've always wanted to stop. It's not a lot. It's not huge, but I just it's right there. And every time I see pictures of it, especially in the fall, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the challenge is detouring from my plans.
It's overshadowed by the national park.
Right, exactly. I'm going to spend all day at Crater Lake, then go out to this little state park? No. Yeah. But you should, I think, in fact, check out these other places.
So any other, big changes that people should think about when making their travel plans, or anything else that we should break down?
I mean, there's a couple things we haven't really talked about when it comes to changes in state parks that won't necessarily affect everyone. They're good to keep in mind. They changed their e-bike policy in state parks now, so there are more places where you can ride an e-bike.
Okay.
Basically, if you can ride a bike there, you can probably ride an e-bike, and they'll just post signs if you can't. They're looking at changing their drone use policies. If you're a person who that is a big part of your state park experience, keep an eye out on the changes in that policy. They're just always kind of tweaking these things, and that's something that we're constantly covering here at Oregon Live is what are the new state park policies. So keep an eye out on OregonLive.com for more of that information as it comes this year. But I think we can expect to see more fee changes from state parks as we move forward. Like Stephanie said, the financial outlook is not good, and that's hard to hear. But they're looking for ways to sort of make things different. And I think, maybe not this year, but the next few years, as we see more public-private partnerships, the state park experience is just going to look different. I mean, that might mean, oh, hey, they're selling, Salt and Straw at Silver Falls.
And who doesn't love that? I mean, how is that a bad thing?
Somebody doesn't love that. Somebody is...
You don't have to buy it if it's there. That sounds cool to me.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
But I think there is an element of this sort of state park purism that is these need to be as rustic as possible. This needs to be all about the nature. We don't want to turn it into Disneyland. And I would argue that selling ice cream by the waterfalls is not necessarily turning it into Disneyland. But I do have some empathy for people who are nervous about that change.
Yeah, that could definitely be taken too far in some cases. So that's a fair thing to be worried about.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes to kind of meet this budget shortfall and kind of cut it off a little bit. So it seems like a lot of the changes will be positive in the future. So
yeah. And I mean, just one more aspect about this is that, I know that the state parks is talking a lot about their struggles. The state legislature does have some power to change the way it's funded. I mean, there is, something lawmakers could do to help alleviate the situation. And I do wonder how much of a lot of this talk about how much trouble they're in is a little bit hey, if only, something was different in the way we were funded, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to sort of see how all of this plays out as the legislature comes back into session in the next couple of years, and as everything sort of comes together. I do think we'll definitely see some more changes in state parks moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
What that looks like, it's not totally clear yet. But for this year in 2026, definitely expect to pay a little bit more at your favorite places. And, hey, maybe consider changing the way that you go to parks and make your campground reservations. Don't book 6 places and cancel them all last minute. I feel like that's fair to say.
Yeah, go back to being a good citizen. Go
Yes.
back to you're paying for a really lovely experience. So in a lot of cases, there's options for everyone. If
That's
you don't
right.
want to pay for that experience, you've got other choices.
That's right. Are you going to get yourself into a cabin or yurt this year or what?
So I've been talking about going camping for the past year, and maybe I'm gonna do your little fun game of it's a nice day. What can I get a last minute reservation for? Because I honestly think that is the way I'm gonna do it. I don't think I think if I plan it, I'm gonna psych myself out too much.
Yeah, you just need a free weekend.
Yeah, I just need a little bit of spontaneity and somebody to come with me because I'm a little scared to camp alone.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I think that I think I'm very interested in clicking that off the bucket list this year.
Wow. I'm so excited to hear about that. What a fun game. I don't know. I love that.
You created something, fun little trend.
Yeah, let's go for it. If anyone really does that and enjoys it, let us know. I'm so curious. Well, folks, that will do it for us for today. Until next time, you can watch our videos on the Oregonians YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show, and if you want to support this podcast as well as our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find details at OregonLive.com/subscribe. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@oregonian.com. This episode of the show is produced by me alongside Jamie Hale, Teresa Mahoney, and Vicky Connor.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this 10 seconds of Zen.